Well, it is 8:30, it's time for the weekly meeting of the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors. We have an agenda in front of us. Are there any additions, corrections, deletions?
Well, we want to table number 4, or do we want to delete it now? Or wait till?
I think wait till
All right.
after the public hearing.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second, it's been moved and second to approve the agenda. Further discussion, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item 2, County Attorney General discussion. Good morning, County Attorney Locke.
What would you like to know?
Anything happening?
On that Teats matter, was the county ever served with that amended petition?
I don't recall.
I mean, no, do you remember ever serving that amended petition on the county?
No, but I can check our documents.
Okay,
Now we know.
because I know there was a copy here. I'm assuming that Mark Teach probably gave it to Adam, he probably gave it to somebody here.
Not, oh,
Andy.
Andy, yeah, you're
Andy.
saying that part.
Andy Teach probably gave it to Adam Shirley, and Adam Shirley probably dropped it off here, yeah. But the sheriff never served you.
No,
No.
I've been trying, I haven't had time to read
No, I've been trying to avoid them.
I'll have to look at our documents.
There's a very important reason why that I choose not to discuss it,
Sure.
having to do with the statute of limitations, so. Other than that, I can't think of anything.
No, I think everything's quiet on our end. Found out again, it's supposed to be next week now, when that publication will be coming out for,
Or the courthouse?
for the courthouse. But,
Probably should. Okay.
and we'll get an extra 1,000 copies that we can use at Bratwurst Days,
The fair.
Fair, up to Riceville.
Okay.
8:45, yeah.
Okay.
Well, if there's nothing else for the county attorney, why don't we move down to item 5,
I'll be back in.
Sheriff's report for June. Good morning, Sheriff Beaver.
Good morning.
I always like money. Today is the
16th.
16th. Supervisor Oaklander, do you have any
I have no questions.
questions on?
Make a motion to approve the sheriff's report for June.
I will second. Been moved and second, further discussion. Hearing none, Oaklander.
Aye.
Locke, aye, motion carried. Basically, what are, just out of curiosity, what are the guys in for?
We're holding 4 this morning: theft, drugs, domestic abuse, and a parole probation violation. Yep. So, it cycles like that, so, but there's 4 this morning. Just a couple of other things to bring you guys up to speed on the lightning strike from last week. Damage right now is at $69,000. And it's climbing. Now, I've talked to our insurance carrier on it. We have $1,000 deductible. And I told, or asked Dan, I said, I'll submit what I have to you, but I don't wanna close it out, because in 30 days, if something else begins to go down as a result of the lightning, he said, that's fine. He said, we'll just add it as an attachment later on. But the system's over 20 years old, and so it can't be rebuilt, it has to be replaced. That's what I'm being told by electronic engineering, or electronic specialties.
come with a lightning suppressor on it?
Well, I talked to Don about it yesterday, and he said as hard as that lightning hit our tower, it probably blew fire from the tower. He said there wouldn't have been anything that would have stopped this type of damage. He said it just was too high voltage. We talked about that. Yeah,
You rot in the tower?
it's all there. It's there now. Ground rods, it's all there, and it still did this type of damage. So, just kind of a heads up, they've been working the last couple of days, and that really took out all our radio system, and he was able to patch it so that we could page fire and ambulance and dispatch the officers. 911 service was never interrupted, but our phone lines are affected, and that's not included in this estimate that I got yesterday, so we'll see, over the next few days how it comes in and what needs to be done.
When do they think they'll have you completely up and running again?
Once he finishes his assessment, so he knows exactly what he needs. The company that he deals with in situations like this can get us the equipment, and he thought he could have it installed in 2 weeks. So we'll get by,
And who is this individual?
This is Don Heidner from Electronic Specialties,
Out of,
Algona.
oh, okay.
Yeah, they're the one that installed, does our maintenance and such matter on all our radios, so. 21-year-old system, like I said, it can't be rebuilt. So
That oil needs to be replaced.
maybe,
Thank the
maybe it's a
lighting.
blessing,
Yep.
in the end. but
Right.
kind of a mess with it there. So that's where we're at with that.
Because if you ever need to replace something, parts are probably hard to get come by too for the
Well,
system.
Yeah, and he begged, borrowed, and stole from wherever to get us back up and running where we're at right now, so. Anyway, I appreciate his effort on that. You asked last week, Stan, about Ray's pickup and what's gonna happen with that. His new one's being outfitted, and he thought maybe by the middle of August, it would be ready to go and it'll be put up for bids and sold.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got 100 and, I think just maybe 105 or 110,000 miles on it. Pretty nice shape, so should bring some good money. And then,
What year is that?
I
Do you
think it's a
remember?
2005.
I was gonna say, that was before Joel got on, because we had that conversation. I remember it with Cheryl and Vernon. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's an 05 model. Yeah. And I guess I mentioned the 4 inmates that we have this morning, so that's all I have, unless you've got something.
No,
Everything's been pretty quiet.
Yeah, it's good. We deserve quiet. We deserve quiet, so. Okay. Thank you.
oh, yeah. Let's jump down to item 7, minutes.
2 sets, last Tuesday and last Thursday.
I read them both, I have had no problem. Second. It's been moved and second to approve the minutes. Further discussion? Hearing none. Boklander.
Aye.
Walk. Aye. Motion carried. Treasurer's semi-annual report. I have that. The only thing I wondered about was you take a look at savings accounts here, and basically the 3 banks here each have over $1 million in savings accounts, and we do actually have 6 banks in Mitchell County. One, they don't have any money in. The other 2 just $20,000 and $9 million is all sitting. I wonder if they couldn't do and maybe they can't, but that would be my only,
Well, some banks won't take government funds. You know, you run into that problem with the Heartland Group and landfill. I mean, they're very, they have to provide a bond with that, so.
and I mean, that's up to the treasurer anyway, but,
And everybody's paying less than 1% interest, so. But I'd make a motion to approve the treasurer's semi-annual report.
second. It's been moved and second, further discussion. Hearing none, Volklander.
Aye.
Walk, aye, motion carried. Union negotiating. I see that Renee Van Brokeren would still continue on for a few of us.
That would be fine, in my opinion. I mean, she does a good job. 2 or 3 times that I sat in on them, so. I don't know.
And we're up this fall again with, yeah, as long as it's up this fall.
And it seems like we've already paid her.
Do you want to contact her, Lowell?
Sure.
And, or should we have Richie? Okay, why don't you contact her and we'll just figure on her being part of it. We can jump down the meetings attended. Boy, we're just moving right on there this
Fire
morning.
right along,
I had none, that I recall.
Okay, last two.
Well, I'll take that back. I did too.
Okay, go ahead.
Had both T-21 and
Hazmat.
hazmat. And T-21, about the only thing that we really brought up was, of course, the road was going to be open Thursday. And then took a little longer than normal just because the painting truck didn't show up Thursday morning like it was supposed to, so.
Had a meeting, FMC landfill, full board meeting. We approved the minutes, the claims, you know, it's pretty much generic. We have to have a full board meet 4 times a year, so that was one of the times we met. That was pretty much that meeting, and then on Thursday, I met with Dan Steinheck. I think it was his name. We toured all the county buildings over 50,000. He's an appraiser in Gallagher Bassett, and we did appraisal on all the buildings.
Okay.
Also conservation.
Oh, yeah, conservation, I'm sorry.
Let's
We're
just
getting
think
them all
about
here. Ryan was sworn in as a new member again. Tony Kuntz is now the president out there. And, they're a little behind again on getting the parks all up and running, but they're not working on it, so.
court.
Go with the court.
What's the one name?
Scott? No.
$1,900 and some dollars.
2107.
Okay.
It is 8:45, it's time for a public hearing on proposed rural improvement zone request for Cedar Ridge subdivision. Is there individuals here representing Cedar Ridge?
Yes.
Yes.
Does one of you want to be a spokesman and explain?
Okay. Basically, we were looking into making, or getting our association to be a true association, getting our federal ID number, and we ran across a law that stated if there is a lake on the property, there is a possibility of getting a lake improvement zone. Basically, we looked into that, and we feel that we meet all the requirements, so we're basically here to get approval for that.
Okay, I will then open the public hearing here at 8:46. Supervisor Oaklander, have you had any comments, written or oral?
Yes, I have had comments.
Okay.
I don't know. I would say negative comments, so we'll leave it at that for the time being.
And I had about 4 individuals that had negative comments.
So does anybody know how the law really reads, or,
Yeah, I'm looking at a copy of it right now.
and you don't think it qualifies, or? That's what we're here for.
Oh, hold on a second.
Okay, what are we here for?
Hold on a second. Auditor Tesh, have you had any comments written in oral?
No, I haven't.
Okay, now we'll open it up to, like I said,
Okay.
the public part. And,
Okay.
Basically, citizen walk, can you explain?
Yeah, I want to make sure that everyone understands I've got an obvious conflict of interest as the county attorney versus being a property owner in the subdivision. Here's my understanding of the law, and once again, I'm talking a citizen walk, not county attorney walk. What this law was meant to do was in rural counties with lower populations was allow them to basically have, in effect, a TIF district in a rural area. Because, so people would be encouraged to put in subdivisions. My reading of the code, once again, is if you meet the qualifications, that you've got a lake, and these guys can explain the legal description of a lake better than I can. If it meets those qualifications and you get 25% of the property owners, that the county board of supervisors shall approve it. And to me, it doesn't look like it's discretionary. I've got my own opinion why that language is in there. I think this code section was probably written for a very specific individual. They didn't want the board of supervisors to have any discretion in whether they could do it or not. Because in the one county, the board of supervisors didn't do it because the main concern was from the schools and the hospitals that, hey, you're taking money away from us and you're giving it to that subdivision. And it went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, you can't consider that factor. The only factors that you consider are, do they meet the qualifications, and if so, then you have to approve it. So basically what happens is, all the increase in the assessed value goes back into the subdivision for the improvements that they want to make. That's what we're here asking to do, that any additional assessed value goes back in when we certify that in November. And I've talked to Barb on this, both as Marquardt County Attorney and Marquardt Private Citizen. And she's got a basic understanding of it. It runs almost exactly like a TIF district, except it's in a rural area.
So in other words, if this was approved, the present property values there today would not be part of it's only gonna be the increment from here on up. Is this correct?
That's my understanding from talking to Barb. Now, and like I said, here again, these things are used so very little, but our understanding is, and then I was talking to her as county attorney, not private attorney, that it's only on, everything that's assessed out there right now.
Would not be affected.
No, would not be affected at all. That money's still going to the county, the schools, the hospitals, everybody. It's only additional assessed values.
So in other words, In other words, you might have the good lots already sold off. You have some poorer lots that you'd like to be able to sell, and this would be an incentive to really get some new housing on those poorer lots. I mean, it is about what,
Exactly.
And we kinda had interest in people, don't wanna buy the lots because they ain't paid. Or they don't like to take their nice cars down the pavement.
Yeah, for instance, there's just a new guy who moved in there within the last, Shorty was talking to him on Sunday, and he was talking about, gosh, it'd sure be nice if the roads were paved, I think, it would be a nicer subdivision, you'd probably get more people out here if you had paved roads. And that's what's holding some people up now, is it's gravel roads.
any other comments from the public?
This is private property, the subdivision.
Yes.
Are you prepared then in the future to pave the roads in all subdivisions that pop up in the county or that are here now?
The ones that have lakes would have to qualify.
It has to have a lake on it.
They have to have a lake. What,
Define a lake.
can I bring my boat down there and go fishing?
Nope, it's private.
See? Well, then it ain't a public lake to my notion.
This
It,
This-
it
this
doesn't
section-
need to be a public lake.
I mean, I can't bring my
I'm not-
grandkids down there to go swimming because it's a private lake.
Correct.
I didn't make the law, I was.
No,
I know what you mean.
That's
a good point, that's all.
Okay, you're taking money away from what, from,
And this isn't permanent. Once the improvements are made, the money will go to the county. Once the improvements are done out there, there are no more improvements to be made, then all that tax money will go to start going to the county. So it's just basically to do the improvements. Now, you have to take into consideration that we've got roads out there, and we've did development out there, and we receive no county services. We don't get graded by the county.
County
We do
takes
not,
care
they
of
do
it.
not
Yeah,
rock
I
our road.
understand
They
that.
don't push our snow.
yeah.
So
that-
we're paying taxes that you, when you pay taxes, you get services. We don't get services.
T-38's taken care of, that's your county
Yeah.
road.
That's the
Yes.
county road.
That's a private road you're referring to.
Yes,
A private entrance.
yes. And this law is to stimulate subdivisions in rural areas, and they're helping stimulate that by giving monies to private subdivisions in order to attract new homes. I think that's
Yeah,
the intent of the
And
law.
the code even references private lake developments. It doesn't say public lake developments. The exact wording is, and with a private lake development. So it, like I said, I can tell you why the law was put into effect. Some guy who was well-connected with the legislature said, I want to put this division in with a private lake development, and I want to be able to TIF it. And they said, well, you can't TIF it because you're in a rural area. And they said, okay, what can we come up with? And they came up with this new law, which was written exactly the way the guy wanted it written, so he could put in his private subdevelopment. And I wish, just me speaking as Mark Walk, private citizen, wishes we'd have known about this a long time ago, because this law is back in at least 1997. So I think every house that's out there.
Yeah, we bought the
if you'd have-
property in '98.
If you'd have known about it, it would have qualified way back then, and every single house that was out there. I'm guessing right now, there's 13 houses out there, probably average $4,000 a house in that area.
In taxes.
So they're probably paying about $52,000 a year in taxes. Well, if we'd have known about that, in 3 years, the paving would have been paid for and this whole thing would have been done.
Right.
Now we're looking at, just new building out there, maybe, we're not gonna get any real benefit out of it
To
till.
stimulate what's left their lots is
Yeah.
basically what we're trying to do.
How many lots left?
5, I think, is that right?
6.
5 or 6?
Yeah.
this essentially then would be to subsidize those 5 or 6 lots. The sale of them. Because the people that have already built there, they aren't gonna move out. They ain't gonna try to pull their houses out
No, they.
if it ain't
Right, and it's,
paved.
it increased, did we say that it increased, the value of the houses, or not really?
I think it will.
Paving, I mean,
Well, it probably would, but,
yeah.
So on the 11 homes that are there, the county will receive more in taxes because their value will increase. The monies only come from new buildings that are built.
After this point, or whatever point.
Well, under the code here, it says that you can assess a levy at 50 cents minimum, $2.50 maximum on all the property out there.
You can.
Right, so I mean, so if you, how are you planning to pay for this improvement? If you're waiting for somebody to buy 5 or 6 more lots,
We'll probably get a loan.
then that's what it says here, further secure payment of the certificates. I assume that's what you're below, and you're gonna need to assess the people that live there in order to pay them, unless you find somebody that wants to lend money in hopes in the future that you'll have the money to pay them. A number of things in here, on recommendation from our county attorney, who couldn't be our counsel on this. I did contact counsel on this, and as far as today is making a decision, it won't happen. We have 10 days from this public hearing. I did contact John Danos, who was our bonding attorney. In this code section, there's nothing at all that says that you can use this money for roads. There's nothing in here that says roads. Roads is a stretch.
It says improvements.
Improvement, but roads are not. It's for soil and water conservation, dredging, land acquisition, a couple of other things. I guess myself, I'd like to see description of the boundaries, a map of this area, who's in this proposed zone.
There's a map.
And it also says here in the code that the board may adjust the boundaries of the proposed zone as needed. So not necessarily everybody would be in the zone. I mean, the folks that live on the T-38 hard surface, are they in the zone also?
They're in the Lake Association.
They're in it, and they're in it because they want it to be. When we originally had drawn this up, they said they didn't want to be, and then they changed their mind and said they did want it to be. That's-
Tom, I believe you had
There's
a
only 4, oh, excuse me, go ahead, Tom.
So I'd like to know, as we discussed this morning, how much does this cost shift public funds to approximately through your proposal at this time? And then does the county have to take responsibility for this private lake and the road?
Well, if I understand it correctly, if they went ahead with it and they borrowed the money and no new houses were ever built, they would have to pay for it somehow with other funds. I mean, their tax money would never pay for it if no new houses were ever built. And so this is basically what is happening in, like St. Ansgar. We have the Season subdivision up there, and I think there's 30 new houses up there right now. That is part of a TIF district. In that particular TIF district, again, the new houses are paying for the infrastructure, the water, sewer, roads. And, but it's the new valuation that pays for it. And basically, like I say, in this particular case, it would be the same thing. The new valuation would go towards it. That's an incentive to have somebody build new. Is this correct? So, I mean, there is a possibility that this association would have to pay for part or all of that road improvement on their own. So,
Well, how
If there's
much,
no new improvements.
how much public funding is going to be needed
well,
to upfront it or get it going?
None. It's all private. It's our it's the tax money that we're gonna try to use.
Well, if it's a new valuation or new building that's gonna pay for this road, and there's 5 lots left, I'd be a little wary of buying a lot that I'm gonna have to pay for all of this pavement that has been done.
no, their association, I mean, the present people also would have to probably be, because they're gonna have to take out a loan as an association. I mean, I doubt if any one individual's gonna sign the papers as an
Right,
no.
individual.
Right,
No.
right.
Do you have a board of trustees now?
We just have basically a
We
committee.
just have an association with a
board.
president, vice president, secretary.
Okay, according to code, you'll have to,
We will be setting up a,
There has to be an election.
has to be an election.
We can't have trustees yet. First you have to approve it, then there has to be election, and then trustees have to be elected.
And then dissolution of the zone has to be voted on by the trustees, so that could go for a long time. you know.
It will go for a long time.
Right, yeah, so that's, and there's nothing, once we approve it, I mean, it's done deal, and until you dissolve the association, I mean, it'll always be there, and you'll always have that right to capture that increment in any of the taxes going forward from,
Do you have any permits on the lake, with the lake, or with, like, the DNR?
and is this a lake or is this a borrow pit?
It's a lake,
Lake, what's the name of the lake?
Cedar Lake.
Cedar Lake, okay.
You looked it up. What's the qualifications to be considered a lake?
Basically, anything from 2 to 5 acres. It needs to have wave action that will erode the shores. It needs to have thermoclines, which means the temperature from the top, the water lower is colder.
How deep is it?
basically over.
I would say the deepest is 16.
So basically, average 3 to 12, and then right now it's been it's been up to 16 feet deep, so. But even last year, the driest year ever it was over 11, 12 foot deep, one spot, so.
Wasn't there something else about being spring fed? It can or can't be spring fed, or can or can't be fed by a river, or what?
All of those. The definitions are basically a body of water, and, yeah, they had several ways that it's fed.
Has to have water all the time.
It cannot freeze solid. A pond, they say, will freeze solid, where this is too deep to do that.
So, one of the pieces of conversation that came up in my conversations with the lawyer was that as you drive along the interstate or any of these newer roads, you'll see all these borrow pits. Now, do all those become lakes? Because if that does, you're gonna be opening a can of worms here, because now suddenly everybody wants to build around those lakes, and we'll be able to do exactly the same thing.
We didn't make the law.
I know we did.
I
I
know.
know.
Well, the one
It's-
thing is,
But
it's only in rural counties, your county.
And
has-
it is
20, what's the
based
limit?
on
25,000?
population.
Right, and you drive,
So Cerro Gordo County probably would not qualify.
right, has to be under 25,000.
Right.
Which probably encompasses quite a few of our.
But
But anyway,
you still have.
Until I get,
You still have the cost of it's lake, making your lake.
The thing that's a little bit bothersome to me is if you had Tim Schultz in here who said, I wanna put in a subdivision and I wanna TIF it to put in the roads and nobody would complain a bit. They'd say, gee, that's great. If they would've thought of this 20 years ago before they put the subdivision in and knew of the code section, I'll bet the supervisors would be on board saying, yeah, that's the greatest thing in the world. Let's let some of the rural people get some of the advantages that the town people get. And it's gonna cost us a heck of a lot less money to pave that than it is to put in, paving and gutter and sewer and everything. And everybody would think it's, a great deal. All we're asking for is to be a TIF and treated just like every other subdivision that's been put in that's been TIF. And I mean, every infrastructure that goes in now, and you guys know it as well as I do, nobody will build industry subdivisions anymore unless they're TIF. And that's all, every place that's come in has been TIF, right? So, that's all we're asking for, is to be treated the same as, to be treated the same as everybody else, but we're just, you know,
After the
even
fact.
after the fact.
Well, a couple of other things, there's only 4 of these RISs in the whole state of Iowa, and they were pretty much designed for Lake Pandora or Panora, Red Rock, Saylorville. I mean, these are, and that's where they are. And there's only 4, and there's only 1 that has any money in their account. I mean, and when we talked about roads yesterday, he said roads didn't fall in the definition of this code section, I guess. I mean, that's.
Did you have a comment on that? That the roads don't fall in?
I think it does, it says improvements. It could, like I always say, the legislature knows how to say things. They could have said excluding the following. When they say improvements, to me that means roads. But that's just my opinion. I believe Danos could have an opposite opinion.
And then he's gonna research what the code or the law defines a lake as, because that did come up.
Yeah, and that, there's a lot of definitions of that.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what the code defines it as, what it will be as.
Yeah.
And- But he says there, you know, you can, he says he could see this thing, you know, you could have any puddle anywhere becoming a lake. I mean, I don't know.
And I can see where you wouldn't want somebody doing a $10 lake and trying to get that money. I agree with that.
Right. And there's a situation in the county too, I know where there are some quarries that they're talking about,
Redoing.
you know, they're played out, and so then you build building lots around them, well, you could have the same situation there. You know, they could all become a risk.
And basically reclaiming a.
Okay, to me, that's good.
Exactly.
Yes, I mean, I think that's good if they.
You look at
I'm not
our,
talking
you
this down,
look,
I'm
you
just
look at
trying
our sand pit or our rock thing, it costs a lot of money to make them look nice after they've been reclaimed.
Exactly.
Well, it costs a lot of money to reclaim.
There are other ways of doing what I think you guys wanna do. I mean, if it's, I know Floyd County down there, when they have rural areas, the county will pave the development blacktop, so, but then they have to pay the county back over
Yeah,
10
like an
years.
assessment.
Kinda like an
Like we
assessment.
do in Osage.
Cause I talked to the Floyd County supervisors, and that's how they handle that down there. And you probably have to do that if you didn't have a lake, I mean. So I mean, there are ways of doing this, I mean, I like paving, don't get me wrong. But it's, anyway, we haven't heard our final answer from our council, so
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
for the other day.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for your
Yeah.
time.
If you have any questions, you can contact any of
Hold
us.
on,
Why don't you make
we're
a
still,
copy of that?
public hearing's still open.
I guess,
I just wanna make sure that, everybody understands what a TIF district does and why they feel that this is a TIF district. I mean, that's really why we're holding a public hearing, I guess. And, so does anybody from the public have any questions on, what the purpose of a TIF district is, why they get established, how this would fall into that same category?
My question, and Shorty and Dave have said, like in town, when paving goes past our house, which it's coming up for me eventually, I'm not gonna say 2 years, 3 years, I am assessed in addition to my taxes, whatever they are, and they're in the vicinity of what you talk about. I am assessed that, and I can either choose to pay, what do I have to pay, 45% or whatever, and then down. But I am directly assessed that in addition to my taxes. Is that something your association would consider, you know, whatever this cost is?
Well, I think we as a association need to get together. We have been discussing the stuff, so I guess, I don't know, we'd have a meeting and line up a meeting and something, but I can't really speak for everybody. Somehow we're gonna try to pay for it, I guess, so.
Basically, all of the current owners will still be paying full taxes. Less than half of the lots that are left are, those tax dollars are going to be paying for the improvements. So, in a way, the county's still getting 75% of their tax money because the homes that are out there are still paying full taxes. And it'll be the new construction. So there is a split there on who's paying full taxes. Yes, some homeowners, and some owners will be, the taxes will be returned for improvements.
But I would say the people that are out there, like me, that already have a house and paying, we're gonna figure out somehow, we're trying to figure out somehow that we'd like to have it paved. So I think we'd consider that, yeah.
Any further discussion from the public?
I can't fault them a bit for wanting a hard surface road past their homes or that, and yet this kind of points out why there is dissatisfaction or distrust in government. As Mark pointed out, this law was what came about. One private person wanted a special.
That's my guess, the way it's written.
And he got his state, the whole damn state to pass it. And I don't blame them for wanting to come in on the coattails a bit. But yet here we have why.
But, you know, this happens, I guess we can take a look at one of the industries that came here to Mitchell County a few years ago. And it was either gonna come to the northern part of Mitchell County or it was gonna go right next to Lyle in Minnesota. And in order to entice that industry to come here, we provided a 100% tax abatement for 10 years and a 90% tax abatement for the second 10 years. And basically what that has done is there's a lot of individuals in Mitchell County that have shares in this particular industry, and they are getting, they're not paying property taxes for basically 10 years and then only 10% on the next 10. But that was, again, an incentive to bring them to Mitchell County. And really, I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but this is, again, what these people are doing. They have 5 or 6 lots left to do. They're obviously not the fastest moving lots. And so if there's no incentives, they may never get them sold, or they may take 30 years, 40 years, who knows. But with incentives, they at least will have somebody living here. And of course, they weren't having the properties. The new increment wasn't here anyway. And so you're basically giving them something that wasn't here before. I mean, they're...
I'll allude to you on all of that, Stan, about the business up at St. Ansgar, and yet I remember at the time one of the 2 largest businesses in St. Ansgar, the owner of that, at the time that Grain Millers came in, and that said, why do they get these breaks? I built my business without them, without all of those tax breaks. He was very bitter about it. And not that, he'd paid his full share of taxes all along, see? So it ain't all cream on the apple.
And we're halfway in between.
Yeah.
If we'd have known about this 10 years ago, the whole thing would have been paved and done with it. Because, like I said, there's $52,000 worth of taxes coming out of there a year. 3 years, you'd have everything paid for.
And the county's still gonna get that.
Yeah.
Anything else in the public hearing? If not, we will close the public hearing at 9:15. We have item 4 on our list. It says action on rural improvement zone request.
Just we table it till next week.
And I will second that. We will table it with Auditor Tess, would you please put this on for next Tuesday?
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Anything else for the good of the cause here this morning?
Anything else, Joe?
Well, just, okay, I'll give it a call, I run across anything.
Okay, great, thank you.
You bet.
Thanks.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else for the good of the cause?
Oh,
Oh, no, we got county engineer yet, I'm sorry.
I can leave.
Now, did you make a motion and you second?
Yes,
Okay, we better vote on it.
okay. Yeah. Further discussion.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Since you said second, I thought it was better.
The DOT must have done that, Chris.
What?
I didn't get a chance to call the DOT, they must have done that.
That's fine.
It worked.
It's for your other business, not here.
What am I signing here?
Bylaws. Policy board. Yeah, your tip is.
You see that I was gonna go and get it modified and already changed to 2015.
3 of them.
3 of them? Okay. Sorry about
That
that.
was what we just had.
Sorry for cutting in here, but I need them to get my job done. Thanks.
County Engineer Brown, you're up.
Good morning. We are doing a rock run. We got that started this week. So we're out and about with rock in, and the gravels now. A lot of our flood stuff is kind of caught up, other than the structures.
Rock run, God, didn't we just do that?
It seems like it, as much as we put down. We're gonna get a quote out also this week to do our seasonal painting. We're gonna, what we've done in the past, and it's easier, and it's fortunate that the county engineers in Worth County agreed to tag along with Mitchell County, but we're gonna bid them together. I think we probably get better numbers, so, I mean, we've done it in the
Makes
past,
sense.
it's just,
Yeah.
nobody pays any, we still separate it, but we're gonna bid them together again, so, it's been pretty fortunate for us. We did get our quotes in, we got some quotes in yesterday for that hickory pipe, the one that washed out. And so, we're gonna have a contractor come in and get that taken care of, he might start next week, get that in, because our box culvert's let today through the DOT on Hickory. So, that'll be bid today, and then probably in a month, they gotta go through all the contracts and documents and whatnot, so we'll see what the schedule is on the box culvert. That's kinda where we're at, we're still.
Are you thinking that'll get put in before harvest?
Oh, that's the plan, well, before harvest, it'll be before the snow flies, that's the schedule, so hopefully it's before harvest.
On that box culvert on Hickory, now that, Hickory's a farm to market road. Why do we have to have DOT approval on that?
Because we're
box?
using federal funds,
Federal funds, all right.
bridge funds.
I knew there was some reason there.
So-
But if we were to do a bridge box culvert that you designed and we weren't using. say,
Local dollars.
Say we're using local dollars, then we don't need the DOT.
We don't go
stamp
through
on
the
it.
DOT, we don't go through we don't have to go through the DOT bid process to do that. You know, the letter you got here a couple weeks ago stating we still have to do a hydraulic review now that we're in the flood, we've got new flood maps and we're in that insurance thing now, so we still have to do a hydraulic review, which.
Who does that?
The DOT.
How long does that take?
And not very long. They don't really critique much, and they just wanna make sure the numbers, the flow numbers and everything look right, so.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So no, I'm in the middle of finalizing one repair bridge north of Stacyville that was washed out. I've got 4 other ones to get done, so once I get that done, we're gonna try to let them together. So, we haven't heard anything back from FEMA yet, and I know that we've been declared by the president, but I don't know, from what I've gathered, since I haven't been here, since FEMA's been here before, they just kinda walk in one day and say, what do you got? So then we'll go through all that, so it sounds like we'll have hopefully a lot of our damage repaired by FEMA. I'm still working also on the DOT FHWA ER funding for some of our stuff on federal aid routes. So, and Hickory, not Hickory, Turtle Creek Bridge in 105 is probably the biggest one, and I've got that partially done.
What are you estimating right now that flood cost us?
Well, we're still in that $1.3 million range. You know, when we get done, we'll have a good $200,000 at least into 105.
You remember last time, how soon did that money flow back
For FEMA,
from FEMA?
I think we were still getting funds a few years later. It just depends on how fast. Well, and that's because we gotta document when our stuff's complete. You know, we've got a lot of stuff done now, but there's still some things that you gotta finalize and everything else. They gotta come in here yet.
So we've gotta fix it before they'll give us any money?
Well, we've gotta show documentation that it
Yeah.
was bad and it's fixed. A lot of that's pictures, and they came in first and kind of reviewed what we had claimed we had, and said, yeah, it's bad enough. But then we've gotta have documentation. If we've got 180, 200 locations, it's gonna take some time to get through the documentation process for them to verify that everything was put back. Now, the FHWA funding is a little different, where we've gotta report what we spent to get it back open, and then what we'll do now is we've got another part of the form to fill out that says, here's what we're gonna do to finalize, to put back the final repairs, and that's an 80-20 split with the federal funds. So, we'll use the Turtle Creek Bridge for an example. I justified getting the riprap put back in, because I didn't know how much more flooding was coming back in. And I didn't want my backfill all sucked back out again, so that's, my argument is I put the riprap in and we're done with riprap, that should be paid 100%. My final project is to put new approaches back in because we lost them, and in that project we'll upgrade the guardrail. So we'll have an approach and a guardrail project as a final project, which we will run through the DOT letting process because that's how we get our ER funding. So, the other ones, the other federal aid route are small projects that won't, you know, the bridge north of Meyer, we lost the approaches there, well, we backfilled and we'll do a small project on that one. That one won't take as long to get done, but, so.
Can you use the FEMA money to be your 20%?
I don't think so. I think FEMA won't touch anything on the federal aid route. If they won't pay for the repairs on a federal aid route, I don't know how they would backfill it either. I've never gone through it, and I don't think that we have in this county in any flooding gone through anything with ER funding and FHW. The last flood we had, I don't think we had seen damage on the federal aid routes.
I'm just surprised FEMA generally covers 100% federal highway.
Federal highway covers 100% up to your final project. So what we've done up until now should be reimbursed 100%. It's the final project that they won't pay 100%.
Is that because you're going beyond?
I don't know what their criteria is or why they don't.
I have no doubt that either.
I'm gonna assume that maybe my final project is more of an improvement than it is to put back the way it was, that's why they would do it. I don't know the answer to that. So, anyway, that's where we stand.
Did you see the email from Kathy Scholl?
I did. I'm thoroughly confused. did call her today.
Well, apparently, we can use up to $1.5 million to make some improvements on some things that,
My only question is why borrow it if we're gonna need it anyway?
no, I mean, this wouldn't be on FEMA stuff. It would be, my understanding is, I mean, we'd be doing some projects that, where we have some deficient bridges, for instance, restricted, 5-ton, 3-ton, that we want at some point in time, we want to replace them.
Would you call that flood related?
No, I mean,
No.
this would not be part of the.
That's the
flood
thing I
related,
didn't
no.
understand in the email, was it was
Yeah.
all flood related, and that didn't make a lot of sense.
No,
to me.
no, this would not be flood related, no.
Well, that
I
that
mean,
changes things a little bit.
Because on, I think it's on Jersey, for instance, you got a restriction on that bridge, and that comes into the lime kiln, which
Yeah, it goes
comes in,
south.
which comes into Osage. Matter of fact, I think you got 2 bridges on Jersey that
Well, there's a whole series of them down in the southeast corner, you got that
And,
southwest corner.
really, we'd be a lot better off having the county having those bridges up to standards to where they don't have to be bringing that stuff down T-38, I mean, into Osage, where they can come down the gravel road as opposed to, so that would be what I would really want to look at. I don't know about.
We don't wanna get big of a bind and not use our federal funds for bridges, I know we don't ever have enough, but as our,
Yeah,
as,
that we could find a lot of bridges.
as our deficient bridges go away, the funding also trickles down too.
Yeah,
Well, because we're making those improvements to our structures,
yeah, but
If
they
I'm not-
always need to be repaired and
Right.
fixed, don't they?
but they're, if I'm not, you probably don't I don't fully understand how it's been explained to me that as you reduce your deficient bridges in the county, your funding may change because you won't be as needy as the next county that has more deficient bridges than you. So, not that it's a bad thing to have all your bridges fixed, don't get me wrong.
Good thing. How many bad bridges we got? So long. We still got them with wood decks,
Mm-hmm.
so careful going across that.
I can't remember what I told reporters when I was here. 25, 30, out of 140 something.
Which, to be honest, compared to other places,
Isn't bad.
isn't bad.
It isn't
So, it's all relative.
Right. Wenatchee County, how many bridges do they have?
I don't know,
Twice as
Southern
many as we
Iowa,
do, yeah. Well, Southern Iowa doesn't have the money.
200 bridges in the county, and 90 of them, 100 of them will be totally bad. But when they have disasters, they just keep them closed. They don't.
Yeah, they don't fix them.
In case you can go around the 4-mile section.
Kind of makes you wonder how they got the 200 bridges in the first place.
There's a lot of waterways down there. A
No,
lot
but
of waterways.
why would you have 200 bridges if you can't fix them?
They were
Because you
built
got-
back in the 1900s.
Well, I know, but
I mean,
somebody
these
had to
are-
weather all to go ahead and put a bridge in.
These are plank horses,
Right.
things that just, the farmer probably put them together.
Okay.
It'd still be,
That's why it's a good idea. We know we got bad bridges, let's be fixing a few of them right along, so that we're not in that situation where half of our bridges you can't go across them.
It interferes with our hunting, is
Interferes with your hunting, yeah.
Gotta go around the 4-mile section, can't chase the deer over that bridge.
Yeah.
well, in southern Iowa, it'd be okay if they still had the horse buggy and the little grain wagon, but
Yeah, that's the
Actually,
other-
they have several of those, much like you do up here.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where we're at. So it's another week of paperwork if I can never get stayed inside.
well, why don't, if there's anything that, if there's anything that you would like to see on that $1.5 million, I'll try to go out and spend a little time with Richie and let's see what we can come up with before next meeting and what he maybe would estimate estimate it would cost on,
Box culverts are easy.
how easy is it to get rail cars right now? Is that-
They're thin. In fact, there's some of these things that we're fixing now for the flood damage. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to get box or the pipe for it. They just don't have the volume.
There's about 40 of them up in Canada someplace.
Well, I haven't gotten, our normal suppliers are down to handfuls. And I think it's because the rumor I heard is they changed the governing body that says you gotta get rid of your rail cars has extended the life expectancy of tanks now. Make them last a little longer, I guess, I don't know, so that's why there's not as many out there. Cause when this flood came in, I contacted the two people that I know of that we have, and they were thin. They didn't have many of
Say,
any.
speaking of that, we still have our LP tank, would that work for,
I don't think for anything we've got, it's been long enough.
Yeah, that's pretty short.
that was a real
Nobody-
car at
nobody
one
wants-
time. Yeah, but that
That was
was a
a
real
tank
car.
car.
Nobody wants to cut the ends of it.
I don't. Unless you're gonna fill it with water first.
Might be a good idea if you're gonna do that. Well, box culverts can't be that much money, are they?
No, I mean,
And then,
you can go through the whole small bridge thing, and I just think, in the long run, this is just my opinion, because I haven't done a whole lot of bridges, but box culverts are easier to inspect. You know, there's not a whole lot there, you don't have wing walls, you don't have all the other stuff that goes with it. Highway 9 is impressive, though.
yeah, that's the best stretch of the whole highway.
Those box culverts are monsters. What's really ironic is the water runs through those boxes constantly, but when it gets down to line kill, there's nothing. It finds fissures in the rock and it's
Oh,
gone.
I'm sure that's kind of the way the treatment plant is out there too, it never quite makes it to the river.
Part.
That's why that water keeps coming up the spring park.
Yummy.
No?
That's it for me, I'm done.
I think Adam and Joel and I wanna make a little trip next week, so.
I did.
And,
Just call me when you want to have done.
okay,
I think
then,
Jerry said he'd help out of that deal.
Who did?
Jerry.
Well, I mean, discuss it now. They should probably put it in some sort of condition if you're gonna take it over.
Yeah, they're working.
don't forget to put deer signs up, so.
Yep, we've got the locates done, so we're just gonna make a sign.
Okay,
And we'll get the shake rate ones put up too, so it's off the bridge there.
west of the bridge. You're at 105. right?
Yeah, it's east, it's gonna be east, southeast of that bridge is where the people live, so they'll be coming down the hill enough to shut off when they get to the bottom.
Yeah. Anything else for county engineer Brown?
I'm taking a test next week.
You gonna take your test?
Huh?
You gonna take your test?
Correct.
Oh,
Motorcycle.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I said you could be a little late.
Today would've been a good day, but I didn't, I woke up and I thought, get out.
Now, you're gonna wear a helmet, and so, I mean, we don't wanna,
I'll wear my knee pads and my elbow pads. And my football helmet on so I can talk and skate something.
You look Jerry Dillon's son,
Right.
Yeah, deer, 55 miles an hour, no helmet,
Night or day?
dead.
Yeesh.
Ended up with bad road rash, luckily no head injuries.
It's lucky.
He is.
Hurts just thinking about it.
I know what?
Kinda like jumping on a sander.
35 stay alive.
see, ATVs are
Yeah.
much more or less dangerous.
My wife's an OT.
Do you
We
have
were talking
anything,
about that. No, I just need to get signatures and
Yeah.
your federal program, those lines will be great, so.
That's next week. I don't think my kid can handle that kind of ride. I just wanna putz around.
If there's nothing else for the good of the cause, we will stand adjourned at 9:35.
Oh, shoot.
questions, Dana? From Thursday.
Right. Very slow, yeah.
Anybody else that you know so far that's interested?
I haven't heard anybody, so.